guys, Rod at Adrenaline Rush Motorsport, and today we're going to change it up on you guys, so make sure that you like, subscribe, and ring that bell. All right guys, today we're going to talk a little bit, instead of talking about units, we're going to talk a little bit about the four-wheelers, the warranty, things like that, some questions that we usually get here in the store. We figured it'd be easier if we made this into a video so you know before you even walk in the door. We're going to talk about the warranties that come on these units. So they come with a 1-year manufacturing warranty, and they also come with a 90-day warranty on the winch. So with the manufacturer's warranty, they're not going to cover it bumper to bumper. It just doesn't happen on these units. Usually with some of the other providers out there like Suzuki, Honda, any of the main manufacturers, they usually only offer between 3 to 6 months. Well, with CF Moto, they offer a year. And with that, what it covers is your major components, such as like the engine, the electronics, anything like that, brake caliper failure, things like that. They're not going to cover, when I say wear and tear items, such as tires, brakes, your belt. That's one of the big things that people don't understand, which we'll talk about that later in the video on how to do the break-in process on the belt. But back to some of the wear and tear items, things like that, like the ball joints, the wheel bearings, as long as it's not a manufacturer's defect. Now, if it's something that was caused by abuse or such things as that, like maybe riding it and then not cleaning it properly or greasing those components properly, that could also void some of those standard warranties. So the next thing we're going to talk about is your break-in period. I'm just going to give you a couple tips. So the first thing that we see on these units are the break-in on the belt. So you want to run 2 heat cycles, no more than half throttle or quarter throttle is usually where you want to be. You want to run 2 heat cycles on that belt. Another thing as well, a lot of people do when they get these units is, as soon as they get them, they're crazy. They're just consistently full throttle everywhere they go. Like we said on that belt, you have to give it that 2 heat cycles to make sure that you don't overdo it on that belt. You'll get a lot of glazing or you'll get a lot of wear, and you can actually cause a lot of damage to that belt. And that belt isn't cheap. Your range on a belt is roughly, if you go OEM, I want to say is roughly about $250 to $275, depending on the belt you are purchasing for your unit. Now, there are other people out there that sell other belts at a lower price. Quality-wise, depending on what belt you're talking about, is how long the belt will actually last. We always here at Adrenaline Rush Motorsport recommend you to go with the OEM belt. There are some aftermarket companies out there that do make stuff. I'm not familiar with them, so I can't speak on their behalf of the quality. I know that Super ATV is starting to come out with some belts. At that point in time, that would be another company we would recommend for you. Between, I've seen is 200 to 250 miles or 20 hours on your unit, you need to bring it in for your first service. And the first service is going to be your oil changes. It's going to be any grease fittings. It's going to also be check your transmission fluid, and if it does need to be replaced, we replace it at that time. Same thing with differential fluid, checking your brake pads, making sure there's not any mystery leaks or any faulty calipers. And also we check your air filter, and we're going to also check your battery terminals to make sure that it was adjusted properly and that all the screws are tight, and we give it a general look over as well. So these all the wheels have a certain torque spec that they do on the lug nuts. Well, over time, the wheel will settle, and then the lug nuts will loosen up, and then you'll end up having loose lug nuts when you're riding. So another thing you should obviously do is that after about 2 to 3 rides, you should go back, look into your owner's manual that is provided by your CF Moto dealer, and it will tell you the torque specs on your wheels. And go around and just check the torque specs on your wheels to make sure they're properly tightened. Because if you don't do that, over time what will happen is the screws or the lug nuts will come loose, and they will damage the studs that are coming out, and then you're in a bigger mess, something that will not be covered under warranty. So the next thing we're going to talk about is availability on these units and parts as well. So the first thing is, the one question we get a lot is people come in and they ask us, they say, hey, I want to put a deposit down on a unit and I want to get one ordered in this model, this make, with these options in this color. Well, being a CF Moto dealer at this moment in time, with everything that's going on in the world, it's kind of difficult for us to do that for you. What they do is they send us quarterly statements stating what they are sending us for the next quarter. We don't get to pick the colors, the models, the makes, the options. We don't get to pick any of that. We just get what they send us. Now, when it comes to parts, everybody, they want to ask us that too. So, are parts hard to get? Are they available? At this moment in time, we haven't been having any difficulty getting parts. Everything has been coming at a normal speed. Anytime we have any warranty issues, we're able to get those handled in a timely manner to get everybody happy, get their units done. Sometimes it does take a week or two for us to get things, but that's about the longest we've ever seen anything take to come in. Now, with the motorcycle side, we haven't ran into any issues with warrantying anything because they're so new, so I can't speak on that behalf, but I can speak for the ATVs and everything like that. And just to let you know that CF Moto is working to bring another manufacturing plant here that will supply us with more parts and more units and things like that they'll be able to keep in the United States to take care of you. So another thing also, we're going to talk a little bit about aftermarket parts. So obviously everybody knows, on some of these units you can go with bigger tires. If you do give us a call, we do have a list of what size tires will fit on here with your unit without modifying anything. But when you're talking about modifying your tires, you have to make sure you take into consideration of your clutch. And if you modify your tires, it can void your warranty if you go with something that's heavy duty. So you have to be careful to make sure you get the right tires on the right unit for your buggy, or you'll end up voiding your warranty or damaging a component on your buggy, and then you're going to end up having to pay out of pocket. Talk a little bit about safety. So it's not always just about being the fastest person out there and doing the reckless things and shoving it in the mud or crawling over some rocks. We need to make sure that you're safe so we can see you again. We want to make sure nobody gets hurt. We want to make the age appropriate people on these units so they don't get hurt. And if you do have little ones on here, on what they can do and what they can't do with these units. So for example, a unit like I'm sitting on right now, the age appropriate age for this is 16 years old. Anybody under the age of 16 are not supposed to be riding units like this because this is a fairly big unit. It's very powerful. You can end up hurting somebody, especially somebody young. For your new riders on these units as well, they have a throttle adjustment set screw on this. It's located right here on the front of the throttle. We've showed it in our previous video, so if you watch one of our previous videos, you will see that. This screw can be adjusted in to stop you from pushing that throttle in so much. So as you're learning to ride this, I recommend to people to screw that in a little bit, use like we said, maybe like a quarter throttle, maybe at the most half throttle, depending on your experience on these units. And that will cause to where you're not gonna take off at rapid speeds to where you can hurt yourself or somebody else. Another thing as well, just to let you guys know, these four-wheelers are built for a single passenger and a double up rider is what it's called. What I am sitting on is a single passenger, and the way to tell is where my feet are located. There is only one place for my feet. On this unit next to me, this is a double up rider. As you can see, it has a back seat with grab handles, and it has a place for the passenger to put their seat, or put their feet, I'm sorry. And then another thing as well, you should always wear helmets. Any kind of back protectors is a good safety item to have. Gloves to protect yourself. I know the heat is hot out there in some places, but it is definitely safe to put on a helmet, because all it takes is for you to fall off the back of this unit, hit your head on something, you could get a concussion or even something worse. The back protector will protect your spine from any spine injuries as well. So we always recommend those, and gloves obviously to protect your hands if you do fall off the unit. Another thing, we've actually had a customer come in and talk to us, and his concern was of rolling these units over. So when you lift them and you put bigger tires and you do things like that, you end up having more of a chance of a rollover. So the lower the vehicle is to the ground, the harder it is to roll over. Okay guys, another safety issue that a lot of people don't take into consideration is their winch. They think, I can never hurt myself with a winch, it moves very slow. That's not true. I've actually seen somebody get injured fairly bad from a winch. They gouged their finger pretty bad. So one thing that people see a lot on the winches is you see these tags on these winches. A lot of people think this is decorative. This is not a decorative piece. This is actually to help you keep you safe. A lot of people, what they end up doing is two things. Somebody has a winch controller in their hand and you got another person in the front that is holding the winch cable and they're winching it out. They stick their finger in that hook. That is a very dangerous thing. Your finger could get stuck in that. It could get wrapped up in something. You could end up breaking your finger, gouging your finger, even losing a finger. So what they do is they put this on there. So this is hanging off your hook. And what you do is you hold this, not the hook. And then what ends up happening is you hold this, and if somebody pulls on it when you least expect it, just like that, it slides out of your hand. Your finger doesn't get caught in it. And another thing that people need to take into consideration is if somebody is controlling the winch and the other person has the cable, you need to be able to communicate with each other. And if you can't communicate with each other, there doesn't need to be two people involved. There's a safety measure on the front that you can actually unlock the winch where you can manually pull the cable out. That's a good safety way to do it as well. So if you're out there by yourself and you get stuck and you're doing it, there's a safety lock located on the side of the winch. You just rotate it and you can pull that cable out and you can wrap it around whatever you need, lock it back, and then keep tension on the cable while you winch it back in. And then make sure you're in a safe spot away from the cable in case it snaps or breaks or anything like that to get your unit out of the situation that it's stuck in. Next thing we're going to talk about is financing. We get this question all the time. I get messages left and right. I cannot tell you how much to put down on a unit until you come in and we do a credit app. I know that sounds a little blunt, but with us being adults, we need to know how to do things financially the proper way. So I'm going to give you a couple tips and let's tell you how this is going to go. Okay, first things first, we need to find the unit you want. Okay? Second thing we need to do is we need to sit down and you need to know the outdoor price and make sure that you're okay with paying that. Okay? Third thing we need to know is how long have you been with your job? If you've been with your job for a week and you make $10,000 a month, we can't finance you because you have to show that job history so they know that you will stick with that job. Okay? Next thing is we need to know what your credit score is. If you've ever filed bankruptcy, if you've ever had any repos, if you've ever had any bad dealings with the financial institutes that we use here, which, by the way, we use Synchrony Bank. Another thing as well you need to take into consideration is down payment. So you need to make sure that you have enough money down just in case it's a little bit more than what you're expecting. And the way for us to get that number is asking you, how long have you been at your job? How much money do you make? Do you own or rent or other on your home? Another thing, like we said, bankruptcy, repos, any bad dealings. It usually takes about 15 to 20 minutes for us to give you that answer, but you have to come into the store so we can let you know. I wish there was a way that I could do it over the phone and let you know, but there is no possible way without having you come in, fill out a credit app, let us see your ID. We can usually range financing between 24 months to 72 months. That's also based on your credit score. It also depends on how much you're putting down. Sometimes we can even offer you 0% interest for 6 to 12 months with additional terms, obviously, and those rates will be based upon all those things I said. So make sure you come see us at Adrenaline Rush Motorsport in Panama City, Florida at 1901 West 15th Street. Give me a call today, 850-874-2185, and give us a like, a subscribe, and ring that bell. You guys have a great day.